Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unity of Alcahones tabletop discussion. And joining me today are my dear friends. I have Susan Jarboe, Karen Downy, Kristine Pass, and Reverend Linda Burdett. And I'm Kathy Cronin, and I will be presenting a topic that I find very interesting. However, before I introduce our topic, I'd like to take a moment for us to get centered and to feel that we're in the present moment and open to receive the divine wisdom and guidance that is available to us. So if it helps to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, those breaths help cleanse and release tension. As you breathe in deeply, you can feel the spirit of energy coming within. And then as you exhale, you release that tension that you're holding in your muscles and that you can feel you becoming present to the here, this moment, and this time. And with that, I want to bring us into the serenity of peace, of quietness, of feeling the wholeness and the divine surrounding us and blessing us. And we say, thank you, Father, for these gifts that you give to us. We thank you for these people who join us and come to this, and for this panel who are open to sharing their wisdom and their guidance. And we ask that among us, we are enlightened to your goodness and your wholeness. We thank you for your blessings, for your abundance, and for the health and well-being of all. Amen. My topic today was written by Myrtle Fillmore, and it's How I Found Health. And those who are familiar with Unity and have been around it for a while know that Myrtle was the founding founder of Unity, and her husband sort of thought great things are happening and I want to know more about how this is happening. So this is an excerpt from her writings, and it was published by the Unity magazine in 1897. And then it was included in her writings, How to Let God Help You. And her topic is how I found health. I'm going to read what she wrote. I have made what seems to me a discovery. I was very sick. I had all the ills of mind and body that I could bear. Medicine and doctors ceased to give me relief, and I was in despair until I found practical Christianity. I affirmed my beliefs, and I was healed. I did most of the healing myself because I wanted the understanding for future use. This is how I made what I call my discovery. I was thinking about life. Life is everywhere, in animals and in people. Then why doesn't the life in the animal make a body like a human's? I asked. Then I thought, the animal has not as much sense as a human. Ah, intelligence as well as life is needed to make a body. Here is the key to my discovery. Life has to be guided by intelligence in making all forms. The same law works in my own body. Life is simply a form of energy, and it has to be guided and directed in a person's body by his or her intelligence. How do we communicate intelligence? By thinking and talking, of course. Then it flashed upon me that I might talk to the life in every part of my body and have it do just what I wanted. I began to teach my body and got marvelous results. I told the life in my liver that it was not torpid or inert, but full of vigor and energy. I told the life in my stomach that it was not weak or inefficient, but energetic, strong, and intelligent. I told the life in I told the life in my abdomen that it was no longer infested with ignorant ideas of disease put there by myself and by doctors, but that it was all alive with the sweet, pure, wholesome energy of God. I told my limbs that they were active and strong. I told my eyes that they did not see of themselves, but that they express the sight of spirit and that they were drawing on an unlimited source. I told them that they were young eyes, clear, bright eyes, because the light of God shone through them. I told my heart that the pure love of Jesus Christ flowed in and through its beatings, and that all the world felt its joyous pulsation. I went to all the life centers in my body and spoke words of truth to them, words of strength and power. I asked their forgiveness for the foolish, ignorant course that I had pursued in the past, when I had condemned them and called them weak, inefficient, and diseased. I did not become discouraged at their being slow to wake up, but kept right on, both silently and aloud, declaring words of truth until the organs responded. Then I asked the Father to forgive me for taking his life into my body and using it so wastefully. I promised him that I would never, never again retard the free flow of what life through my mind, my body, by any false word or thought, that I would always bless it and encourage it with true thoughts and words in its wise work of building up my body temple, that I would use all diligence and wisdom in telling it just what I wanted it to do. I want everybody to know about this beautiful, true law and to use it. It is not a new discovery, but when you use it and get the fruits of health and harmony, it will seem new to you, and you will feel that it is your own discovery. And as I read this, you have to remember that Myrtle Fillmore was born in 1845 and lived to 1931. She overcame those illnesses that she had as a young person and lived a very full, complete life. So with this, it encouraged me to say, it's time to start talking positive energy to my body. And I like something she said, but I also sort of go with it, is that often we believe what the doctors tell us, and then we take that in and start believing that and negating what's there, saying, or the simplicity of, here's a prescription, take this, and you stop your body doing its own healing work. So I a lot of times just sort of say to myself, I have to believe that I can be the full, complete, energized body that God has given to me. It's not as young as it used to be. It doesn't have the same vigor that it did many years ago, but it can still be complete and whole and just full of health and well-being. So I want to open this to my panel as to your thoughts on what Myrtle wrote. If it moved you at all, if it opened something up for you, I'd like to hear from everyone. So who would like to share first?
Kathy, I am particularly touched by this topic because in 2011, no one expected me to live a year. I was very, very ill. And um, I had been bedbound for 8 months. I was in a wheelchair, lots and lots and lots of health problems. And one of the things that you read early on was where she was talking about the intelligence that's in the animals. And this really struck me because when I was so sick, we were guided to hit the road. We were going to go on what we were considering my death trip, and and there was no, I had no affirmations, didn't even know about affirmations at that point, really. I mean, I'd heard it, but I wasn't practicing them at all, or, it was truly that instinctual intelligence from within that guided us to this. And the longer we were out on the road, the healthier I got. And here I am all these years later. So I truly believe that that inner guidance oftentimes does come before we speak those words of affirmation, and that the intelligence opens the door to us to speak the affirmations and have that influence our health.
Thank you, Kristine. Susan, would you like to share?
Certainly. I was thinking of my mother, who was a Unity person. And when she was in her 70s, she went to the doctor for something or other. And he said to her, well, as we age, we need to expect these kinds of things to happen. She erupted and said, I don't think so. I don't think age has anything to do with it. And so she wasn't exactly saying an affirmation, but she was denying the idea that age meant you were going to have this, that, and the other thing. And I think that's a useful application of what you're saying as we look at our aging bodies and feel what they're doing, and to think about age as sort of a diagnostic cause, and to pull away from that. So that was one thing I was thinking. Another thing I was thinking was I don't want to write off modern medicine. um, you said this was 1897, I believe. That's like, what, 130 years ago? And I wonder if she were here today, if the medical community would be able to do a lot more for her than they were able to do at that point in time. I think it's always good to investigate whatever it is your physicians, are telling you. And in my own life, I have had the good fortune to always have good doctors, but other people do not. So I appreciated what you had to say, and thank you for taking me down memory lane.
Thank you, Susan. Karen.
Yes. Thank you for that message. That's really old. And, I hadn't thought about that until Susan mentioned it. I mean, that was a long time ago. And how things have changed over the course of diseases and just everything, really. I know for myself, if something, I don't know that I necessarily intuitively look inside checking my organs and what I can do about it. If something's going on, like, a pain or a restriction, I usually don't get sick. It'll be a pain or something. All of a sudden you can't walk because the knee isn't moving, or, you can't lift your arm. But for me, and for many years, I kind of have like a multiple team. I've got the primary Kaiser doc. I have got an MD that practices bioidentical hormones and the woman's body and stuff, that won't take insurance because he won't be restricted to what he's told he has to do in medicine. And then with chiropractic, I ended up moving from a chiro, and I've always used chiropractors from an early age, but they treat one thing. If you go in and your neck hurts, well, they adjust your neck. And then recently I found a doc that practices kinesiology, which is testing the muscles and finding out what's going on. And it's like, but taking it back, I was always led to a different other. So rather than settling for what I'm told by one specific, I do. I intuit where I gotta go. And if I've got to pay, use the card, whatever, I'm going to go to whatever I think is the next thing. And it might be energy healing, it might be massage work. It's like I'm not in a box as to who's going to tell me what needs to be done with my body or my mind. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. But I can't imagine over 100 years ago. It's beyond my scope of health. Thank you for that message.
Thank you, Karen. Linda, Reverend Linda.
I love the topic, and I'm so glad that you brought it up. We get asked sometimes, how does Unity feel about doctors? Do you have faith healing? Because of course we started with the healing of the Fillmores. Charles Fillmore also used affirmative prayer to make measurable differences in his health. And God is in medicine too, and in everything, and in doctors. It amazes me, and we're talking about 100 years ago. Well, still so much of doctoring, so much of the medical profession is kind of guesswork. It's matched the symptoms to the possibilities. Well, you've got this, and this, so you probably have this. And that isn't always the case. There are certain viruses and viral infections that they can see in your blood. Oh, yeah, you've got the chickenpox virus or whatever it is, but there is so much more that all the symptoms fit. So we're going to begin treating you for this condition and then come back in 2 weeks and we'll see, is the treatment working? Because if not, we might go in a different direction. Still, they know so much more than I do. When I'm having a situation and I'm able, I do go to the doctor and ask a whole lot of questions. What else could cause these symptoms, and what do you do? I have a doctor right now who is very much into herbal remedies and situations, and she will suggest to me that I start taking more of a vitamin, or I look into this herb, or I blend this into a tea before automatically giving me medication. And sometimes that absolutely does not work. And sometimes it really has given me whatever I need to get through the situation. I think it's important to find a doctor you trust and then trust your doctor and have lots of questions and ask, what are the alternatives to this medication, and what are the interactions with this vitamin? The more informed we are, the better. I think what I heard in the reading was don't buy into the diagnosis. Whatever the scary words that they say, oh, you have blah, blah, blah. Don't buy into that. Just look at, why would you say that? What are you looking at? What are you thinking about? And look at treatments from there. I believe that we have the opportunity to use so many different methods to establish really good health right now. And just like with Kristine, just because they tell you you're about to die doesn't mean you have to go die. You can go do something else, and build a whole new life. I mean, it's an amazing story. It's absolutely amazing. We intuitively can discern information about ourselves that isn't available to our medical professionals because it's not about them. So, again, I think many paths, right, can lead to good health. Thank you for the topic. That's all I got.
Well, thank you, Reverend Linda, and thank you to the rest of you. If anybody else have anything they want to add before we wrap this up. So I want to share with what Kristine talked about when she was diagnosed with an illness with, just that we went through that in 2017 with my husband having stage 4. And he was out on disability, and I said to him, I said, tell me what it is you want to do. We created a bucket list, and every month it was, we're going to go here, we're going to do that, we're going to go and live life to the fullest while we rely on the doctors to give him the treatments he needed to fight the disease. But we were going to be participant in this and live life to the fullest. And here he is today, fully thriving and doing well and in remission. So it's sort of like I always say is that things we want, we have to co-create with God. And when it comes to our health, it's a triad. We have to co-create with the doctors and medicine and with God's will and ours. But we have to be an active participant in what it is for our healing. And it's like, I think what Linda shared is that if they give you that overall diagnosis, like, well, what do you expect? You're older, and that's part of it. Ask the questions. Well, there's got to be other reasons. There's other things I can do. And sometimes it takes researching it too, is that I find that I just saw a doctor last week, and he sort of said, well, that's sort of the part of my hearing has severely diminished in my right side. And it's like, what is causing this? And it pretty much came to them, well, what do you expect? You're getting older. And I go, but the left ear didn't get worse. Why did the right? So it's sometimes questioning this aspect of it is like, have I had infections? Is there something, with this? And I, not to just totally buy that this has happened and I have to live with this. Well, I do have to live with it. I mean, sometimes we go blind and sometimes those things happen and we make the best of it. But, it's like, ask that question instead of just simply passing it off. And so it's, my husband always teases me because he said, Kathy doesn't like doctors, and it's not that I don't like doctors and I don't trust medicine because it's done so many good things, but I'm going to challenge them. I'm going to use my intelligence and I'm going to challenge, because I live in this body and I know God's healing. And I'm going to share my visualization. She did the visualization where she talked to each of her organs. I have this visualization that when I am feeling under the weather, and just recently, you might hear it in my voice, I've just gone through a little bit of a sinus situation. I see these little soldiers in my body that are all coming together to go fight off this virus, and I can just see this little army coming to fight off the bad guys and get rid of what's not supposed to be there. And it's like, and I also see that sometimes when I've been given medication, my body rejects it. It's like, no, we're here doing our job. We don't want this. And so I have a huge list of things that I can't take because my body just goes, no, don't want it. We'll heal you. And so it's sort of like, I just see my little army of soldiers inside, the little white soldiers running around and healing, bringing the healing that needs to be focused on. And so that's my little visualization to coming back to being well. So does anybody else want to say anything? Otherwise, I will end our get together. Well, I want to thank everybody, my dear friends, for being here and sharing their thoughts on this. And I want to wish those who have joined us, have come to this, that you find the path for your health and well-being and manifest in your life that which is there, that God is working through you and with you to bring you that health and that healing. And so that is to put in that trust and trust within yourself. And I want to say, there's a prayer at the end of this that I thought I would share. And it's from the, okay, if I can find it, I just really, it's a healing prayer from Silent Unity that's in this booklet. And I wanted to close with this. Every thought of God life strengthens and heals me. Present in my body temple. I focus on the truth of divine life. I choose thoughts aligned with the vitality, vigor, flow, health, and wholeness. Every thought of truth strengthens my body's systems and functions. Every thought of truth blesses and heals. I am centered as an expression of divine life in this silent moment. With that, I want to say goodbye to everybody and have a wonderful day, and may God bless you with good health. Bye.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which lists all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.